Bonjour, welcome to Wahsa Distance Education Center's radio Zoom classes. This is MEL3E, grade 11 workplace math, and I am Bronwyn Slade.
Unfortunately, this week you cannot participate live as our studio is under some construction and you can't call in. So this lesson is pre-recorded, though we are broadcasting on the radio at 91.9 FM and on the television at Bell Express View channel 972. Usually you will be able to join live through the Zoom link or call into the Wahsa studio to ask questions, but for this week, that is not a possibility. Still, how to know how to join the Zoom class with a link when it is available. So you should have a link that's provided from your DEC or from me, your teacher, to join the class. So you just click on that link and then a screen will pop up and you then choose to join with the computer audio. Then you will get a message that says the class will be recorded. So you click got it, as all of our classes are recorded. So I can upload them onto YouTube to share with other students, and so you can refer to them again. I don't expect students to share their videos, so if you do join on Zoom to watch and ask questions, I encourage you not to share your video just so that your privacy is respected. Then on the bottom left hand side of your screen, you can click the video and microphone icons to turn them on or off. You also might have a little headset, which is what my image is, as I'm wearing headsets for the audio. And again, I encourage you to not have your video on. I don't have my video on. It just means that we don't have as much going on the screen and respects folks' privacies. And I ask you to keep yourself muted unless you are asking a question. Then to leave the class, you can click on End, which is at the bottom of the right-hand screen. If you get kicked out, you can rejoin the class. That's fine. If you leave, you can rejoin the class at a later time during the session. That's totally fine. You don't need to actually end if you need to step away from your computer, as you're muted and your video is off, so we won't actually know if you're at the screen or not. So no need to end if you need to step away and return. That is totally fine as well. All right, I just also want to go through how to get subtitles, if that is something that would be useful for you. So if you're in full screen mode for Zoom, you have this menu along the bottom of your screen, and you have an icon that says show captions, like a CC button. So you just click on that and captions should then work. If you have captions selected and you prefer not to have captions selected, you can also click, if the captions are showing, then you click, it will say hide captions. So you can click that to hide them, whatever works best for you. Unfortunately, the captions most likely won't get everything that I'm saying exactly. I know I speak quickly, there's lots to jam in, and I might not enunciate as well as the caption settings would like. So I apologize for that if things aren't aligning as best as they could be. If you have your Zoom in a small screen, it looks slightly different. You have to click on these three dots, that the More menu, and then click on Captions. Then the screen will change. The little window, you can then click on Show Captions if you'd like to show captions, or it'll say Hide Captions if you would like to hide the captions. So again, this is going to be depending on what your screen looks like. It'll be a little bit different depending on what your needs are. I'd like to go over the difference between Radio Zoom and IL courses, as this is something that can be kind of confusing. So first, they are the same because the course material, the evaluations, and resources are all the same, whether you are registered in the Radio Zoom class or in the IL course, the independent learning course. Nothing is different in terms of the actual course material and process. Anyone is welcome to listen and participate in the Radio Zoom classes. You don't just have to be registered in the Radio Zoom course. You're still welcome to join us. And all of our lessons are recorded and posted onto YouTube shortly after airing. So this is something that everyone has access to, whether or not which version of the course you were registered in. So then how are they different? The Radio Zoom has a schedule of 4 terms per the year, and the classes run for 9 weeks. So during sessions, I explain the course concepts and show examples working through all 20 lessons, but those are spread out over those 9 weeks, and we start at the beginning and work through up to the whole 20 lessons. The IL courses, on the other hand, are open from the start of the year to the end of the school year, and students are welcome to start and finish those courses at any time, opposed to following along day by day like you can at the Radio Zoom class. So you can finish them any time between September 6th, 2022 and June 16th, 2023 for this year. If you're registered in the Radio Zoom class, the idea is that you are following along and handing material in at the same pace as we're going through week by week, and that you complete your full credit during that 9-week course. There is a potential to roll your course over if you don't finish it within those 9 weeks, but that's something to have a conversation with us directly to figure out what would work best for you. But that's really how they are different. All right, our Radio Zoom schedule is Monday through Thursday from 9 until 10 in the morning. And we are in our first week of our 9-week course. So you know what to work to submit for marking as we go along. The support questions, the ones with a little pencil icon, are not for marking. You can decide which ones and how many to do. If you understand a concept, feel free to skip questions. That is totally fine. You don't have to do them all just because they are there. If you're struggling with concepts and you'd like more practice, please ask for more practice, and I'm happy to send you some. I also can support you working through questions if you need help. Ask questions so I can help you. The key questions, the ones with the little key icon, are the ones to submit for marking. So these ones, you need to do all the questions. You need to show all of your work, your steps, your thinking, so that I can understand what it is that you understand. And if you are making errors, I can help figure out where those errors are coming from and hopefully improve your understanding. So then how do you submit your work for marking? Well, there's 3 methods. The first method is to scan and send your work electronically. You can scan your completed work through a device. If you have an Apple device, the Notes app has a scan function. And if you have an Android device, the Google Drive app has a scan function. These are free apps that generally come with these devices and so are already on them and are fairly straightforward to use. If you need some support learning how to do that, I have videos on my YouTube channel that walk you through step by step how to use both these individual apps. They're under my playlist called the Tech Tutorials, and you can follow there along to learn how to do that. Once you have it scanned, you can then send it either by email to studentwork@nnec.on.ca and CC it to bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca, or you can send it through Facebook Messenger, where my name is B. Slate Wahsa. A quick moment of recognizing why I'm suggesting scanning versus just taking a picture. You can take a picture if that is what works best for you. If that's the only option that you have, that's fine. But if you scan using an app on your phone, it means that it's easier to create one file with all your pages so we don't lose anything. It's faster because it simplifies the image, and that makes it a smaller file, which is easier to send. This is why I encourage scanning. But again, if that doesn't work for you and you need to take pictures, if that's the best way for you to send work electronically, that is okay. If you want to learn how to scan with your smartphone, with your device, I'm happy also to walk you through that and to support you if watching the videos isn't a great option for you, just let me know. I'm happy to support however I can. All right, so our second method is to drop off your work in Sioux Lookout. We have an outdoor mailbox at our location 74 Front Street. We are the bright red building next to the post office, and we have a small white mailbox next to our side entrance. So just put your work in there and we'll get it back to you as soon as possible. The third method is to hand your work into your DEC. Your DEC can either send your work through the Express or fax it to 807-737-1732 or toll-free fax to 1-800-463-7852. Students are also welcome to hand in their work by fax if that's something you have access to. We just ask that you give us a call or send me a message to let us know that you have sent a fax, as we've had some instances where things get faxed, but they don't get received. So we want to make sure that we get your work. If you'd like to connect with me through social media, both my Facebook and my YouTube channel are under the name B Slate Wahsa. You can friend me on Facebook and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And then every time I upload one of our Radio Zoom classes videos, you will get a notification so that you know it is there. It's easy to find. As I've said, all of our Radio Zoom classes are recorded and posted to YouTube shortly after broadcasting. So everything is there for you to find as accessible as possible. Also, on my channel, there are short videos that explain common errors and confusing concepts. So this is a really good place to go if you are struggling with something, or if you're feel like you're missing a piece that isn't necessarily a new concept, but is something that you've struggled with in the past. There might be something there on my YouTube channel that addresses this and just makes it a little bit easier to find that help opposed to doing a general online search. Math is a really visual subject, so I strongly encourage you to access the videos. Listening to me only on the radio is not going to give you the full experience, and things most likely will not make as much sense as if you access the videos and see what I am talking about on the screen. If you cannot join me live through Radio Zoom, if you cannot access the YouTube videos, you don't have reliable internet, so those are not options, let me know and I'm happy to send you a copy of all of our recordings so that you still can get the full experience and set yourself up for the most success. If any questions or concerns, please reach out and contact me. My primary focus in my position is to support you, my students. You can send me an email at bronwyn.slate, that's spelled BRONWYN.SLATE@nnec.on.ca. Connect with me through Facebook, where my name is B Slate Wahsa. B Slate is all one word, second word Wahsa. Give me a call at the office at 807-737-1488 or toll free 1-800-667-3703. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Though I teach from 9 until 11, so that's not a great time to try to get a hold of me.
Today, on day 2, we are looking at commission and hourly rate of pay. So our learning goals for today's lesson are that at the end of this lesson, you can say, I can calculate overtime, time and a half, regular and total pay for a variety of salary scenarios, And 2, I can create a budget for a salary based on commission. Knowing that you've met your learning goals, you can say, I know how to calculate earnings based on hourly rates of pay. 2, I can calculate overtime earnings. 3, I can explain how commission works and calculate the earnings. All right, let's activate our brain with some mental math. So I'm not a big fan of the classic Mad Minute math that many of us experienced in elementary school, where we had to sit down and sit quietly and do a whole bunch of arithmetic facts as fast as we could on a piece of paper. It wasn't great for learning, caused a lot of stress, caused a lot of anxiety, didn't help anybody actually learn anything about math. Either you knew your facts or you didn't, and that was all. So instead, we focus on developing strategies that you can use in various situations and can feel comfortable with. The point of the strategies that we're working on are comfort, so that you are able to do it whenever it makes sense for you and you have control. So today's question that we're going to do is 24 take away 7. And we're going to use an open number line, which isn't something that I was introduced to in elementary school, but I find really, really useful. So an open number line is a number line. It's a straight line. You can draw it horizontally. You can draw it vertically, whatever makes sense to you. I draw it horizontally because my screen works this way better. I have more space horizontally. And then you don't have to put in your numbers. You're just going to put the important numbers. So 24 number lines generally 0 or your negatives are on the left and your positives get greater on the right. This is just classically how we do number lines. The same with if you're doing a vertical, higher numbers are at the top and lower numbers 0 is at the bottom. So just that's a standard practice. And I don't even know why. It just is something that I take for granted. Maybe you should look into that. Anyway, okay. So 24, I'm going to put, that's how much I'm starting with. So I'm going to put it over far to the right. And I'm going to take away 7. So I'm going to take away amount and I'm going to get smaller, closer to 0 because I'm taking something away. But taking away 7 from 24 isn't super friendly. So I'm going to do it in chunks that are nicer for me. So I know that if I take away 4, I'm going to jump back and take away 4, that I'm at 20. That is something that I can see. Now I know if I took away 4 from 7, I still have 3 more to take away. So I'm going to take a jump and I'm going to take away 1, 2, 3. So that's 19, 18, 17. So if I take away 3 more, I get to 17. I could just do that in one jump. I could just do 20, take away 3 is 17. I could do it by ones like I've shown on my little jumps. So that means that 24 take away 7 is equal to 17. And that's all you do with an open number line, is that you just write on the numbers that you need that are helpful for you. And that can be different depending on who you are and what you're doing. Okay, mine's on. Let's look at any prior learning that we need as we move forward. So we need to be comfortable calculating percentages. This is something that comes up a lot in this course with using money and using commission and things like that. So calculating percentages is really important. So percent comes from the Latin by 100. So it means that you're doing it per 100. So you divide by 100. So it's also important to remember that fractions and division are the same thing. I know that that is weird, but I can write 1 over 2 like a fraction, 1/2, and that's the same as 1 divided by 2. So I sort of interchange these. I am trying to be a little bit more conscious about how I'm writing it to not confuse folks, but just to remember that 1 divided by 2 can be written as 1 over 2 or 1 divided by 2 with the division symbol. Yeah, just remember that. I'll try to keep it clear. So some examples are that 7% is equal to 7 divided by 100, which is equal to 0.07. You can totally just do this on your calculator, or many folks have learned the trick that you move the decimal place over 2 places. So you go from here is where your decimal would be, and you move it over, and that means that you end up having it like this, where you have a decimal and a 0 and a 7. We're not going to go into this too detailed. This is just a skill that we need to use. So if you're comfortable doing that, totally do that. If you need to divide every time, totally divide every time, whatever makes sense. So 12% is equal to 12 divided by 100, so 0.12. 1 1/4, so 1 1/4% is equal to 1.25 divided by 100, which is equal to 0.0125. 3.5% is equal to 3.5 divided by 100, which is equal to 0.035. So you've got to be really careful when you're dividing that you get the decimal in the right place. It's really, really key that you have the decimal in the right place and you have the right number of zeros, or no, if you don't have a 0 or not. So it's really, really important. It really makes a big difference. 24 2.75% is equal to 24.75 divided by 100, which is equal to 0.2475. And 19.83% is equal to 19.83 divided by 100, which is equal to 0.1983. So it really takes some practice to get comfortable with it, but totally fine to use a calculator every time if you need to. Just be careful and be paying attention. All right, so going forward, remembering that as we go, we're going to engage in some new concepts for this lesson. We're going to answer the question, when will I use this in real life? Because that's what everybody really wants to know. So we are learning how to see the whole picture. So instead of just narrowing really focus, we're learning how to get used to seeing everything that's involved and using that information to help us understand the world around us and to make decisions. So we're looking at how to see the whole picture moving forward. All right, hourly rate and overtime. So hourly rate, this is on page 11 of your IEL booklet. So this is when an employee is paid a fixed income per hour, regardless of the amount of work done or assigned. So it says you are working 1 hour, you get this much pay. You're working 2 hours, you get double the pay. Continue forth. You don't get paid for, it's not like piecework where you get paid for the amount of work that you're doing. You get paid for the time that you put in. So common jobs that are paid with hourly rate are retail workers, so people who work in stores, servers at bars and restaurants, custodians, childcare workers. Lots of people work at an hourly rate. Here I found this on the Ontario, on a government site on Ontario, because the hourly rate has really changed a lot, and that's been a big conversation over the last few years, is that now we are getting more of a living wage, a little bit more of a living wage for minimum wage. So it used to, I have no idea what minimum wage used to be. It used to be a lot lower. But now things have changed so that hopefully the minimum wage that people are earning, so you have to pay, employers have to pay at least this amount. They can pay you more, but they have to pay you at least this amount, hopefully is more equitable and is making sure that people have enough money to survive. So the general minimum wage, so the majority of people who will work a minimum wage at the beginning of this year, but in 2021, it was $14.35 per hour. Right now, it's $15 per hour. So starting on January 1st, it became $15 an hour. Starting October 1st this year, it's going to be $15.50. So it's already increasing. So it's increased over $1 within a year. And that's pretty amazing. We're working hard. Folks are working really hard to make sure that people are getting a living wage and continuing to improve that so that folks can survive. So we will be working with, in this course, we'll be working with minimum wage being $15 an hour because that's what it currently is. So when we talk about minimum wage, we're talking about $15 per hour. Student minimum wage. So if you are under 18 and you are a student, then you don't make as much money because your focus should be on school in theory so that you are learning and growing your brain. So right now, student minimum wage is $14.10 per hour. So if we're talking about student minimum wage, that's the number that we are going to use. It's going to go up to $14.60 in the beginning of October, but right now we use $14.10. That's what we use if we talk about that. Then there's other minimum wage rates. So if you're a guide, a hunting, fishing, or wilderness guides, that's a little bit different because you get paid you get paid a day rate opposed to an hourly rate. We're not going to use that really, but there's the information if you're curious. And also home workers wage is if you are someone who works at a home like a nanny or a housekeeper or something, and you live in the home, your wage is a little bit different. It's $16.50 per hour and will be going up to $17.05 per hour come October. So something really also important to note is that for a long time, servers and people who were getting tips did not get, their minimum wage was lower, but effective January 1st this year, that has been eliminated. So now minimum wage is the same across the board for all workers, which is really, really quite an improvement for folks who work in the tip industry because they were getting it was really struggle for those folks because people would assume it would all depend on tips, and that wasn't necessarily enough to survive. So it's really important that this has been brought up to minimum wage. That's across the board. Nobody gets has a lower minimum wage because of the job that they're in. So yes, we're going to be working on this, the ones that are current. So it's important to remember that even though there's, past and future, we're going to work on what's are current. All right. So then overtime, also on page 11 of your IEL book, is when you work beyond your regular daily or weekly hours. So you generally have a set, you're working this many hours a week. This is sort of how we're basing it on the shifts over the week. But if you work more than that, you get paid more because legally work rights have been fought for so that people aren't being overworked and people get to have healthy lives outside of work. So if they are needed and they choose to work beyond the standard amount, then they get paid more for that work. So generally the rate is time and a half is how people refer to it. And it's 1.5 times the regular rate. And overall the board, by law, it applies to all work above and beyond 44 hours a week, but different employers can shift that to lower if possible, if they want to. They can't shift it to higher. They can't say, oh no, we're just going to do it after 50 hours a week. No, it has to be, you hit 44 hours, you have to get paid overtime. But they can decide that, okay, if your usual hours are 38 hours a week, so you're working 40 this week, so you're going to get overtime for those other 2 hours. They also doesn't have to just be time and a half. They can do double time or other things. Time and a half is standard, but sometimes it is different depending again upon the employer and the situation. So this often occurs when there is a labor shortage. So if they really need people to work in a particular industry, then often it can be, that can be a perk, is that you're getting paid time and a half. Or during really busy or holiday periods where there's an increase of need for workers. So this often happens in like retail during like the winter holiday season. Then people are working more hours because stores are open longer, or they need more employees on, so they have more people working on shift, and then you would get time and a half. Or if you're working on statutory holidays, on stat holidays. So if your grocery store is open on say Canada Day, which probably isn't, but if it was, then a stat holiday means that you would get on time and a half for that time. So that is also something to note. All right, so let's look at some examples about how this actually plays out. So Alex has a job at Lakeshore Arena as a Zamboni driver. They are paid minimum wage. So remember, minimum wage, $15. And usually work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. How much does Alex earn a week? So we are going to do, so minimum wage we know is $15. So we're going to figure out per day how much Alex makes. So $15 times 8. And we can do this calculation if we want to in our head, or we can use our calculator. So 15 times 8 equals 120. So Alex earns 120 per day. And then they work 5 days a week. So per week, we're going to say that doing that wrong. Okay. So per week, it is $120 per day times 5 days. So 120 times 5, well, 100 times 5 is 500, 20 times 5 is 100, so that's going to be $600. So do we answer the question, how much does Alex earn a week? Alex earns $600 per week. That's the regular rate. All right, example 2. Paige is paid $16.10 per hour for 40 hours per week. Kendallin is paid $15.75 per hour for 38 hours per week. If either work more than their usual hours, they get paid time and a half. If they both work 46 hours in 1 week, who gets paid more? So sometimes we have these questions where there's lots going on. So we need to figure out what we need to figure out and how we're going to get there. So again, organization really, really helps to keep yourself from knowing what you've done and what you haven't done. So we need to figure out pay for Paige and pay for Kendallin, sorry. So I'm going to organize it and I'm going to write Paige on one side and Kendallin on the other. So I know what I'm doing. And then we need to figure out how much they worked for 46 hours in 1 week. So let's do Paige first. Ignore Kendallin. We're just going to do Paige. So Paige gets paid $16.10. So $16.10 times 40 is Paige's usual amount that they make. So to figure out how much they make in 46 hours a week for this week, we still do $16.10 times 40. That is still happens. They still, even though they work more hours in that week, still for the first 40 hours, they get paid $16.10. Then we need to figure out what they get paid for the other 6 hours. So let's first find out what they get for $16.10 for 40 hours. So that's our first step. So $16.10 times 40 is equal to 644. Okay, so regular week, Paige earns $644. Okay, so then for overtime, we know it's going to be only 6 hours. They only work 6 hours of overtime. So 6 hours is how much we're going to times it by. And then we do $16.10 times 1.5 times 6. You can do this in 2 steps. You could just find their overtime rate and just do $16.10 times 1.5 to figure out their overtime rate and then times it by 6, or you can do it all in 1 step. So I'm going to do it all in 1 step for Paige, and then I'll do it in 2 steps for Kendallin. So you can do, so you do $16.10 times 1.5 to figure out their overtime rate. And then you do that times 6 to figure out how much they made in those extra 6 hours. So that's $144.90. So for the overtime work, they get $144.90. So then for the total 46 hours, you would add these 2 together. So you can do it in a calculator, or you can just add them depending what you're comfortable with. So 90 cents is the same. $4 and $4 is $8. $40 and $40 is $80. And 600 and 100 is $700. So Paige would make $788.90 for those 46 hours in 1 week. Okay. So now we're halfway there. We now need to figure it out for Kendallin. So Kendallin gets paid $15.75 for 38 hours a week. So let's do $15.75 times 38. So $15.75 times 38 is equal to $598.50. $598.50. So their usual work is $598.50, but they also worked overtime. So like I said, I'm just going to do a little extra overtime rate over here so you can see how you can do it a different way. So to calculate their overtime rate, say, okay, well, $15.75 is their usual rate. So we're going to times that by 1.5 because they get time and a half. So $15.75 times 1.5 is equal to 23.625. And this, you could potentially do it, but let's just round to $1. So, or round to our money always. So $23.63. So Kendallin's overtime rate is $23.63. So for every hour that they work overtime, they get paid $23.63. So then to figure out for their overtime, so they usually work 38 hours and now they're working 46. So they worked an extra 8 hours. 46 take away 38 is 8. And they worked at a rate of 23.63. So we're going to do 23.63 times 8. 23.63 times 8 is equal to 189.04. So 189.04 is how much they worked for their overtime hours. So then the total is equal to, total for 46 hours is equal to adding those two up. Again, you can use your calculator, you can do it by hand. So 50 plus 4 cents is 54 cents. $8 plus $9 is $17. 17, so then 10 plus 9, sorry, 10 plus 90 is 100 plus 8, 80 is 180. And then 100 plus 5 plus 100 plus 500 plus 100 is 700. So Kenilyn makes $787.54 and Page 8 makes $788.90. So Page gets paid more. Time. That's how you figure out overtime. All right, if you want to pause the video at this time and do some support questions, you're welcome to. So on page 12, questions 1 and 2 cover hourly rate and overtime pay. And we're going to continue on. All right, so now we're going to look at commission. So commission is on page 13 of your IEL book. And commission is when your earnings are based on how much you sell. So straight commission is your earnings are 100% commission. So it is 100% dependent upon your sell, how much you sell. So if you don't sell anything, you don't get paid anything. Whereas graduated commission, you get part of a salary and you get part commission. So it's like you have a base wage of, I don't know, $100 a week, and then you get commission on top of that as well. So the rate really varies by industry, by employer, by the position, by the experience. So there isn't a standard like, this is what commission is all the time. It really, really changes depending on the situation. But generally it's between 5% up to 50% commission of the sales. So that is how much you would figure out in terms of how much you sell, what chunk of that is for the person who sold it. Really common places that this shows up are telemarketers, car sale representatives, retail workers, MLM, so multi-level marketing. So like pyramid structures or pyramid schemes. So that's how, based on, they really want to sell it to you whenever you go into a store. And if you get like asked by like 5 people, can I help you? Can I help you? Can I help you? It's probably because they're getting paid on commission. And so they want to be the one to help you because they're the one, that's how they make their money. All right, so let's look at an example of how we calculate those commission. So Cody works in a music store. He earns a salary of $210 a week plus 7% commission. So 1 week he sold 4,200 worth of musical equipment. So how much did he earn in that week? So to figure out the commission, how we do this is we do our sales times our rate. So our sales was 4,200 times 7%. Now on your calculator, you can do 4,200 times 7 and then hit the percent button and it'll change it automatically for some folks. But for most of us, we're going to do $4,200 times 0.07. Remember, 7% is 0.07. So, okay, so my calculator. Yeah, see this one, I never use it, but this one has a percent. So I put 7%. It will calculate that it's $294. But if I do 0.07 times 4,200, I'm guessing the same thing, $294. So you can use your percent button, or you can just change it to a decimal, whatever works for you. So on that sales, Cody made $294. So is that how much he earned in the week? Nope, because he had a base rate. So his total earnings are his base rate of $210. So he gets that no matter how much he sells, plus selling 200 and getting commission of 294. So that means the total of 210 plus 290 is $504 are his total earnings for that week. All right, example 4. Bianca works part-time selling cosmetics. She is paid 25% of her total sales. Her sales for 1 week were Monday, 82, Tuesday, 94, Wednesday, 67, Thursday, 180, Friday, 96. Calculate her earnings for the week. So her total earnings, her total weekly earnings is equal to just adding them up. So 82 plus 94 plus 67 plus 180 plus 96. Writing it all out is a pain, I know, but if you make an error because you just read something wrong, or say you have dyslexia and you move things get mixed up, helps me see that if you are writing things down, it helps me track where you might be getting mixed up. So it is helpful. Then, sorry, I just got to move my calculator out of the way so I can see. So we're going to do 82 on a calculator plus 94 plus 67 plus 180 plus 96. Total, you can do this by hand or in your head if you want to, or you can use a calculator. So that's 519. So Bianca's earnings for that week are $519. Okay, so then part B is calculate her annual earnings, assuming she sells this amount each week consistently. So we know, so for 1 week, she sold $519 worth. I don't know why sorry. Just a glitch. So for annual, so that's 52 weeks for the year. So we do 519 times 52. Oh, except that I totally did that wrong. I calculated, so mistakes happen. So I calculated her earnings. Did I calculate her earnings? No, I did not. I calculated how much she sold. So this is her total weekly sales, not her earnings. My bad. So for commission, how much she actually made on that, we have to do 519 times 25%, so times 0.25. And that we figure out how much she actually makes. Sorry, mistakes happen. So 519 times 0.25 is equal to $129.75. So she actually makes $129.75. She does not make $519. That's how much she sells, but she takes home $129.75. So then to calculate her yearly earnings, we need to use the amount that she actually makes, not the amount that she sells. So for 1 week, she makes $129.75. So we multiply that by 52 to figure out how much she makes a year. So 129.75 times 52 equal to $6,747. So if I had continued make my mistake and I'd multiplied 519 by 52 and I had just written, if I just written whatever the answer of that was, it would be really big. And I wouldn't, as a marker, I wouldn't have known where that mistake was. So writing it down that I wrote down that 1 week was 519, then that would have communicated to me that you or the student was calculating the total sales and not actually calculating the commission. So I would have been able to see, oh, this is what we missed. I was able to figure out what the step was that we missed because we had written down all the steps. So that's why it's really important to write down your steps, because then you can figure out where you're making an error. Whereas if I just would have written down the final number, which if I just written, so 519 times 52. So if I just written down 26,988, that as a student, that doesn't tell the teacher where you made the mistake. It's wrong. I would have just marked it wrong, but I wouldn't have been able to help you to figure out where you made the mistake and why you had such an inflated number. So writing the steps, this is why writing down the steps is really important. All right, so that's commission. If you want to pause the video now and do the support questions on page 13, questions 3 through 5, cover commission. All right, so let's consolidate our learning. Let's connect and recap all of what we've done today. So the lesson 2 highlights, so commission and hourly rates is what we've been talking about. So a reminder that our hourly rates are the earnings based on how many hours worked. So in Canada and Ontario, we have a minimum wage of $15 per hour currently for the general public. And so it's important to remember that hourly rates should be above $15 per hour or at least $15. Overtime is usually time and a half. So 1.5 times your hourly rate for any time worked over your usual daily or weekly hours. And commission, our earnings are a percentage of the total sales. So you could have a base wage plus commission, but commission you have is dependent upon how much you sell. So let's see if our success criteria, if we've covered them. So 1, I know how to calculate earnings based on hourly rates of pay. 2, I can calculate overtime earnings. And 3, I can explain how commission works and calculate the earnings. So hopefully with what we've covered today, you can do all those 3 things, which means you've met our learning goals and you should be successful for this lesson. All right, let's do a few more practice questions to really just make sure that we know what we're doing now that we've covered 3 different things. So number 1, Caitlin works full-time and is paid $21.40 for 35 hours a week. She's paid for 52 weeks of the year. What are her total earnings for 1 year? So in order to figure this out, we first need to figure out Caitlin's weekly earnings. And then we need to figure out her yearly earnings. So weekly, she's earning $21.40 for 35 hours. So $21.40 times 35. $21.40 times 35 is equal to $749. So weekly, Caitlin makes $749. So yearly, because she gets paid for 52 weeks of the year, so it would be 749 times 52. So 749 times 52 is equal to 38,948. 38,948. So do we answer the question? What are her total earnings for 1 year? Yes, Caitlin earns $38,948 per year. Okay. Question 2. Jack stocks shelves at a grocery store. He earns minimum wage for 37.5 hours each week. 1 week, a large shipment arrives late and Jack is asked to work overtime at time and a half. He works 4.5 hours of overtime. What total earnings for the week? So his regular hours he works for minimum wage, so $15 per hour times 37.5 hours. So 15 times 37.5 equals $562.50. $562.50. Okay, so that's his regular hours. So then the week that he had to work overtime. Okay, wait, first we need to figure out, let's do this sort of as an aside over here. We need to figure out what his overtime rate is. So overtime rate, so 15 times 1.5. Figure out his overtime rate. 15 times 1.5 is equal to $22.50. So for every hour that he works overtime, he gets $22.50 instead of $15. So for overtime hours, he gets $22.50 times, and he worked 4.5 hours overtime. So to calculate that, we do $22.50 times 4.5, and that equals $101.25. So for the overtime hours, he gets $101.25. So then total earnings for that week, we add those together. And so that equals, so 50 times 25 is 75 cents. $1 plus, sorry, not times, plus $1 plus $2 is $3. 60 plus $0 is $60. 500 plus 100 is 600. So we make $663.75 in that week. Do we answer the question? What are his total earnings for that week? Yes, we did. So it's always good to check back what your question is so that you make sure that you actually answered it. Okay. Practice question number 3. Joyce sells cars. She earns 35% commission on the profit of each sale. 1 week, she sells 2 cars. The profits on the cars are $800 and $1,300. What are her earnings for the week? So first we need to figure out total sales. You could figure out the commission on both and then add it together. I would prefer to figure out the total sales and then find the commission. So total sales are 800 plus 1,300. And this is the total profits, not the total sales. So maybe I should have said total profits because the cars didn't actually sell for that amount. That's how much the car dealership made after the expenses, the cost of the cars. So this is just based on profit. Sometimes commission is just based on profit. So 800 plus 1,300 is going to be 2,100. So then commission for Joyce is your sales, how much the sales are. So 2,100 times your commission rate, which is 35%. So that's equal to 2,100 times 0.35 So that is equal to 2,100 times 0.35, which is equal to 735. So Joyce's earnings for that week, because it seems like she just earned straight commission, so are $735.
If you have any questions, give me a call at the office at 807-737-1488 or toll free 1-800-667-3703. Send me an email at bronwyn.slate. That's BRONWYN.SLATE@nnec.on.ca. Connect with me through Facebook at bslatewasa. And remember, all of our lessons will be up on YouTube at bslatewasa. It's the name of the channel there. And there's a playlist for MEL3E where all of our course materials will be posted. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Thank you so much for joining me today. Miigwech.